Blog Talk Radio.
And looking at beautiful stories of his hilm, tolerance, and his truthfulness, and his trustworthiness, and these beautiful stories, it's beyond this. He is the tissues of our lives. He is our intercessor on the day of judgment. He is our door. Through him we can access Al-Jannah, and without him we can never access Al-Jannah. This is why in the past 70, 80 years since the establishment of the Saudi royal family and the Saudi dynasty in Saudi
Assalamualaikum. Ustadh Ahmed?
No.
Okay, welcome to the Number Union Show. We're going to continue with the Rissala class tonight, inshallah. We have our Ustadh online. Assalamualaikum.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam ajma'in. Allahumma anfa'na bi'amma yanfa'u bi wa ta'alimna bi. انفعنا بما تعلمنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين ربي زدنا علما نافعا. Inshallah, we're going to continue with the section of prayer. If anyone missed any of the previous sections on Aqidah or the previous sections on prayer, all I have to do is go to the archives, and the lessons should be there. So to continue where we left off at last week, the Imam says, وَيَقْرَأُ فِي ظُهْرِ بِنَحْوِ قِرَاءَةِ فِي الصُّبْحِ مِنْ طَوَالِ أَوْ دُونَ ذَلِكَ قَلِيلًا وَلَا يَجْهَرُ فِيهَا بِشَيْءٍ مِنْ قِرَّةٍ وَيَقْرَأ فِي أولى وثانية من كل ركعة بأم القرآن والسرة سرا في آخرتين بأم القرآن وحدها سرة ويتشهد في جلسه أولى إلى قوله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم يقوم فلا يكبر حتى يستوي قائمة هكذا يفعل إمام رجل وحدها وأما مأموم فبعد أن يكبر إمام يقوم مأموم أيضا فإذا استوي قائمة فبي ويفعل في باقي الصلاة من صفة ركوع وسجود وجلوس ونحو ما تقدم ذكرة في صبح ويتنفل بعدها. So, the translation, he's talking about the Dhuhr Salah now. We finished last week describing in detail the Fajr, or Salatul Subh, as is referred to in the text. So now he's talking about the Dhuhr Salah, and he says that the recitation for the Dhuhr should be from the surahs, the like of which was recited in Salatul Subh, or a little shorter. So when we were discussing the Subh prayer, the Fajr prayer, we said that it was good to recite long surahs, but particularly those from the Mufassal. So he says on the Dhuhr prayer, it should be the length of the recitation should be like a little less than that, like it or a little less. Meaning, so the Dhuhr is actually a prolonged prayer also, as far as the recitation. And this is related from Ashab and Habib. It said that Imam Malik radiallahu anhu recommended that the recitation of Dhuhr be a little less than the recitation of the Fajr prayer. This is preferred. So, for example, what we mean by the Mufassal, we mean like sort of like Fath, 48, Jum'ah, Saf, right? Is not to recite from the middle of the Mufassal. He also said at Dhuhr that none of the reading or none of the recitation is said out loud. Right, in both of the first This is in contrast to the first and the second rakats in Fajr. You recite the Fatiha out loud. You recite another surah out loud also. But in the Zuhr, of course, this prayer is said silently. And so then he continues. So in the first two rakats, you recite the al-Quran. So this is the Fatiha, the mother of the book, and then a surah after it. Right? But again, this is silent. This is the first two rakats. In the last two rakats, you just recite the Fatiha with no surah after. He said, and then you do the tashahhud. He's up into, so this is in the first sitting now, not the last sitting. So this is the second rakat. So you do the tashahhud up until you get to the phrase Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. So you don't do the salat Ibrahimiyya here. You just do the Atahiyat Allahi wa Zakiyat Allahi tayyibat up into Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. He says, and then you do the takbir, and then you stand. Right? And after that you stand, but do not say Allahu Akbar. I'm sorry, do not say Allahu Akbar until you're fully upright. This is for someone who was leading the prayer. For the ma'mun, they do it by themselves. Right? So for the imam, after he says Allahu Akbar, then those following know to stand. He says if you are doing the prayer behind the imam, you stand up after the imam and say Allahu Akbar. When you're fully upright, then you say Allahu Akbar. Again, this shouldn't be said though. If you're the ma'mun, if you're the person who's following, this shouldn't be said aloud in a way as to interrupt, the rest of the jama'ah. Right? It's say it silently. Again, this has to be after the imam has first said it. He said, apart from the rest of the prayer, in terms of the ruku, the sujood, and the julus, the jalsa, the sitting, this is the same as been mentioned for the subh prayer. So the rest of the prayer is the same. And then the next section, he's going to talk about. Okay, so the next section he says we istijabu. No, I'm sorry, istahabbu, not istijabu. ويستحب له أن يتنفل بأربع ركعة يسلم من كل ركعتين ويستحب له مثل ذلك قبل صلاة العصر ويفعل في عصر كما وصفنا في ظهر سواء إلا إنه يقرأ في ركعتين أولين مع القرآن بالقصار من سر مثل الضحى وإن أنزلنا ونحوهما وأما مغرب فيجهر بالقرآن في ركعتين أولين منها ويقرأ في كل ركعة منهما بأم القرآن وسورة من سورة القصار وفي ثالثة بأم القرآن فقط ويتشهد ويسلم. So the Imam says here that it is recommended to pray 4 nawafil rak'ah after the Dhuhr, saying the taslim after each 2 rak'ahs. Right? So after the Dhuhr, this is because the Prophet ﷺ said, if anyone keeps the 4 rak'ahs before Dhuhr and the 4 rak'ahs after them, then Allah will forbid the fire to him. Right? This hadith is related by Imam Ahmed. It's also related by Imam Tirmidhi. It's also related by Imam Nasa'i. It's also related by Ibn Majah. It's also related by Abu Dawud. Right? But what's meant here, again, is that one keeps, so it's not enough to just do it one time and say, okay, I'm safe for the fire. No. He said if a person keeps this prayer, these nawafil, Of course, and this is also excluding the major sins. Then the fire of hell is forbidden for that person. All right. So then the Imam, he said, and so in regards to the Asr, the Nawafil before Asr, he said it is to do the same before Asr. He should do 4 rakats before Asr, as it is confirmed. As the Prophet ﷺ said, may Allah show mercy on the man or woman who prays 4 rakats before Asr. Right. So it's also when you recite for the Asr prayer, it says you do exactly as we have described in the Dhuhr prayer, and that the first 2 rakats after the Fatiha you recite one of the short surahs, وَالضُّحَى إِنْ أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. You do Asr like Dhuhr, except that you use shorter surahs. So you begin with one of the long ones, so you should leave it and recite a short surah. It's also sunnah in the Asr to recite in the first rakat Surah Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, and then the second rakat Qul Huwallahu Ahad. This is in regards into the Asr prayer, and of course there's no sunnah. There's no Nawafil prayer after the Asr prayer. Right. So you do the 4 rakat before with the 2 with the tasleems after 2 rakats, and then you pray the Asr. But after the Asr, of course, there's no Nawafil, as the Prophet ﷺ said in a narration that the Shaitan prostrates between the time of the Asr and the Maghrib. So prayer at that time is forbidden. So then the Imam continues. ويفعل في عصر الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وأما المغرب فيجهر بقرى ركعتين ونوم منها ويقرأ في كل ركعة منها بأم القرآن وسورة من سورة قصار. Now, so he said, so in regards to the Maghrib prayer, you do the rakats in the time. So in regards to the Nawafil prayer for Maghrib, he says that it is recommended to do 2 Nawafil after Maghrib. I'm sorry. I'll skip the whole part. He said for the Maghrib prayer, you do the recitation aloud, as in the first 2 rakats. In each rakat, you recite the Fatiha and one of the short surahs. In the 3rd rakat, you recite the Fatiha. And you don't recite anything after. You do the Tishahhud after the Tasleem. So the only difference here is that the 3rd rakat, so the first 2 you recite aloud as if you're reciting in the Surah prayer. The 3rd rakat, of course, you recite totally silent. In the 3rd rakat, you don't add an extra surah to the end like you did in the first 2 rakat. Right? And in this one, again, you are to shorten. You're not to prolong. You're supposed to shorten the recitation. You're not supposed to prolong it. The amal is this is and then the 3rd you only recite the Fatiha. Okay. So he says it is also recommended to do Nawafil after the Maghrib. If you do more than this is good. 6 rakats have been specifically recommended. And the shah that I have here, he stresses actually that you pray 2 rakats after finishing the Maghrib, and this is good. And the reason is because the Prophet ﷺ himself did this. 6, he says, I recommend it, which he does not say anything between them. Says 6, I recommend it, since he said if anyone prays, meaning the Prophet ﷺ, prays 6 rakats after Maghrib, in which he does not say anything evil or haram between them, this is equal to the worship of 12 years Ibn Khuzaymah has read this hadith in his Sahih, as well as Imam Tirmidhi. And also this is a ta'i from Sahih Ibn Khuzaymah that they're equal in worship. One of them said, to the worship of Bani Israel in the collection of Tabarani, says if anyone prays 6 rak'ats after Maghrib, he will be forgiven for his wrong actions, even if they are like the foam on the sea. He says, ويستحب أن يتنفل بعدها بركعتين وما زاد فهو خير وإن تنفل ب6 ركعتين فأحسن وتنقل بين المغرب والعشاء وراغب فيه وأما غيره ذلك من شأنها فكما تقدم ذكره في غيرها وأما عشاء آخره وهي أتمه وإسر عشاء وخص بها وأول فيجهر في أولين بأم القرآن والثلث من كل ركعة وقراءتها أطوال قليلة من قراءة عصر وفي آخرتين بأم القرآن في كل ركعتين سرا ثم يفعل في سائرها كما تقدم من وصفه ويقرأ نوم قبلها وحديث بعدها بغير ضروري. So, he said for the last prayer, for the Isha prayer, he says this is also known as Atamma. Although the name is Isha, it's more properly used, and he actually says it's more appropriate. He says you pray the first 2 rak'ats aloud, reciting in both of them the Fatiha and another surah. The surahs chosen should be a little longer than those chosen for the Asr. In each of the last 2 rak'at, you should recite the Fatiha to yourself. The other parts of the prayer are done, which has already been described. Now, in regards to I don't know if I already mentioned this, but when you recite behind the Imam, for example, in Dhuhr and Asr, Maghrib, Isha, the Maliki position is that you only recite behind the Imam in those portions or those rak'at where the Imam is silent. But if the Imam is audible, so for example, if it's the Fajr or the first 2 rak'at of Maghrib or the first 2 rak'at of Isha, then those rak'at, then you don't recite. But if it's any of the, so all 4 rak'at of Dhuhr and Asr and the last rak'at of Maghrib and the last 2 rak'at of Isha, since the Imam is silent, then you will recite the Fatiha to yourself. 1 second. Okay. So that dropped my computer. I got another text on PDF, which I was comparing. Okay, so he says that in Isha that you recite here, the recitation here should be a little longer than the ones that you did in the Asr. And he says that to sleep before Isha is disliked, or unless there's a special need to. He said it is not disliked to talk after his time has been coming before it's not been prayed. So you shouldn't go to sleep before the before the praying of Salat al-Isha. He said, عشاء آخرا واسمع عشاء وقرة التي يسرها بها الصلاة كلها من يتحرك اللسان بيتكلم بالقرآن. وأما جهر فإن يسمع نفسه ومن يليل إن كان وحده. ومرة دون رجل في جهري وهي في هيئته صلاة مثله غير أنها تضم ولا تفرج فاخذها ولا عذودها وتكون مندمة ومنزوة وجلوسها وسجودها وأمرها كلها. ثم يصلي الشفاعة ووتر جهرا. وكذلك يستحب في نوافل الليل إجهار وفي نوافل النهار إصرار. وإن جهر في النهار في تنفله فذلك واسع. So بين المغرب والعشاء والمغرب وتقدم العشاء. So he said that in regards to what is meant by praying to yourself, what is meant by reciting to yourself, as we just talked about, he said is as far as the prayer is concerned, it means moving the tongue as you articulate the words of the Quran. The expression reciting out loud means if you are doing the prayer alone, that you recite aloud enough for yourself and anyone standing close to you to hear. Right? Then he described the women's prayer. He said the women's recitation of the Quran should be quieter than that of the men. The women, she is quieter than that the man, so she can hear herself. This is like similar to the talbiyah. Right, so if she's reciting aloud, she should recite just enough so she can hear herself. He said that the difference between the woman's prayer and the man's prayer is that the woman, she should keep her legs together. She should keep her arms close to her side, as close as possible when she is sitting, when she is in sujood, and during the duration of the prayer, which is opposite for the man. For example, when the man goes into sajda, he's supposed to spread his arms. It's the famous hadith in Sahih Bukhari. One of the Sahaba said that when the Prophet ﷺ used to prostrate, that they could see the whiteness of his armpits. Alright. But the woman, she should keep hers. She should keep her limbs as close as possible. Right, and in another explanation I have, it says that the woman, she's like the man in prayer, except for that she keeps her legs together and her arms close in. She does this out of fear of breaking wind, because she is not like the man in retention. She has a certain looseness. If her legs were apart, she might break wind, which would break wudu. This is also true of the ruku. She does not put her arms out like a man. What this author mentioned is that the transmission of Ibn Abi Zayd from Imam Malik is contrary to the statement of Qasim and the Mudawwana, because he considers the man and woman to be the same. So this is, again, just a slight difference according to different narrations. Ibn Qasim saying that the woman, her form should be like that of the man, whereas Ibn Abi Zayd actually relates from Malik that no, that it was meant that she's like a man except in these respects of the prayer, in regards to, positioning the hands and the legs and things like this. So it says that so he says that the witr, so now he's going on to the witr and the nawafil prayer at night. He said that you should pray the shafa with even amount of rakats, and the witr should be an odd number, and the witr should be, and both of these are said out loud. So then he says, وَأَقَلُّ الشَّفَعَ رَكَتَيْن ويستحب أن يقرأ في أول بأم القرآن وسبح اسم ربك الأعلى وفي ثانية بأم القرآن وقل يا أيها الكافرون ويتشهد ويسلم ثم يصلي وتر ركعة ويقرأ فيها بأم القرآن وقل هو الله أحد ومودتين وإن زاد من أشفع جعل آخر ذلك وتر وكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي من الليل 12 ركعة ثم يوتر بواحدة وقيل 10 ركعة ثم يوتر بواحدة. He said that going back just a little bit, he says that after the Isha you pray the Shafi prayer, which is 2 rakats. He said these are positions about whether it is a precondition that you have a specific intention, whether any the 2 rakats is enough. The evidence is that the second, based on the fact that it's valid from the Prophet also, when the Prophet said that prayer at night is in 1s and 2s, when any of you fears the approach of subh, he should pray the 1 rakat with it to make the odd number what he prayed. And after 2 rakats, he prays the witr. Right? So this is how we base it, that it's 2 and 1. Right? So then he says that in the same way that it's recommended to do the nawafil prayer at night aloud, the nawafil prayer during the day should be done to yourself. Although if you say them aloud during the day, it is acceptable. He says the number of rak'ah for the shafa is 2, at least 2. Is at least 2, and there's really no limit. He said in the recitation of the shafa, it should be out loud, and it is recommended that you recite the Quran or the Fatiha, and then you recite Sabbih ismi rabbika al-a'la. I think this is the 87th surah. It's right before Ghashiyah. Of course, Sabbih ismi rabbika al-a'la and Ghashiyah are recited in Salat al-Jumu'ah. So it says, so this is the first rakat. He said Salat al-a'la in the first rakat, and then in the second rakat it's Fatiha and Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. This is the 109th chapter, of course, in the second, followed by the tashahhud and the salams. After the salam, you stand for witr. It is recommended that they be separated by a salam based on the previous hadith, according to the Maliki school. He said you then pray the single rak'ah witr, reciting in it the Fatiha, Surah Ikhlas, and the 2 surahs of protection. So this is the Mu'addatain. This is Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq or Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. If you do more than 1 pair of rak'ah for the shafa, you do the witr at the end. Alright, and this is some of the other schools, like the Hanafis, they take umbrage with this, and they report a tradition from Ibn Abbas where he said that like there was no, reportedly, Ibn Masud, I'm sorry, where supposedly he said that there was no benefit in reciting like 1 rak'ah. But the Maliki position is based upon the Amma. Again, the Amma, there's the famous narration, Athar from Muqaddam bin Aswad, that he would, before he would leave the Masjid of the Prophet ﷺ at nighttime, that he would at least pray 1 rak'ah witr. So this is another one of the evidences for witr being 1 rak'ah, as opposed to, for example, like the Hanafis, like, so they don't make a distinction between the shafa and the witr. They'll pray the witr is 3 rak'ah for them without a break in between the second and third, whereas for us there's a break between after the second, and then the last one is done on its own. So then he said the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he used to pray 12 rakats a night. They used to pray 12 rak'ah a night. This is the hadith of Aisha, making the number of by praying 1 rak'ah at the end. It is also said that he did 20 rak'ah, making an odd number by adding 1 at the end. So there's variation of reports as to the exact number of what he did as far as the Shafa prayer at night. There are sound transmissions in the Sahihain from Sayyidina Aisha. There's enough. The commentary here, he says there's no contradiction between the 12 rakats and 11 rakats because of the Prophet. So also used to begin his prayer with 2 rakats after wudu, and sometimes they were considered part of those prayers. Sometimes she reported 12, sometimes she did not because they were connected to wudu and the release of the Nadir Shayateen. As we know, this was the release of the Nadir Shayateen is in reference to the two Mu'addatain. So she reported 10 rakats standing at night with tahajjud was an obligation with respect to the Prophet and recommended for us, as he said, you should stand at night. It is a habit of the righteous before you, in an act of nearness to your Lord, expiation of evil deeds, and the prevention for wrong actions. Inshallah, I'm going to have to switch phones because this battery is very, very low, and it just beeped. So I'm going to, inshallah, switch phones, and we'll continue. Give me like 2 minutes, inshallah.
Inshallah. If anyone just tuned in, we're waiting for the host, inshallah. Okay, here he is. Assalamu alaikum. I'll let him on.
Yeah, okay. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And so the Imam continues. He says, وَأَفْضُلُ لَيْلِ آخِرُهُ وَفِي الْقِيَامِ فَمِنْ آخِرَ فَنَفَّلَهُ وَوِتْرُ إِلَى الْآخِرِ فَذَلِكَ أَفْضَلُ إلا من غالبه عليه أن لا ينتبه فيقدم وتر ما يريد من نوافل الأول الليل ثم إن شاء إذا استقيذ في آخره تنفل ما شاء منها مثنى ولا يعيدها وتر ومن غلبته عينا من حزبه فله أن يصليه ما بينه وبين طلوع الفجر وأول الأسفار ثم يوتر ويصلي الصبح ولا يقصي وتر من ذكري بعد أن يصلي الصبح. So he says that the best time for praying the night prayers, this is the nawafil here, is the last part of the night. Of course, this is based upon the Sahih narration collected in both in Bukhari and Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah descends every night to the Lord's heaven when a third of the night remains, and He asks, is there anyone who calls on me so that I can accept His prayer, who asking me? Whoever is asking forgiveness, ask me so I can forgive him. Very famous narration, which does not mean, of course, that Allah descends literally as Allah is not confined to a place. Rather, what's meant here is that Allah's mercy descends. Right? If we take this hadith to be literal, that Allah literally there's always, some place on the earth, some time on earth, but it's not. So it basically means Allah is always off the throne. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just waiting for the Ustadh to call back in. Inshallah, obviously, would have some type of disconnect. Inshallah. Just keep waiting for that moment. We have a nice lineup coming in tomorrow night. 9 p.m. we'll be continuing with the art of spiritual warfare. And that'll be at 9 p.m. Followed by Tuesday, we're going to have a continuation of the show every day at 8 o'clock. As well as... Hello? Excellent. Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, you got it. Everybody, this AT&T, so it's not my fault. So, of course, as I would say, this will contradict the outward meaning of, the verse in the Quran where Allah says He's established on the throne. It will contradict, of course, the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah is in front of the person when they're praying. And it would contradict the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, أَقْرَبُ عَبْدٍ يَصَلَىٰ سَاجِدًا, the closer the person is to Allah, that's when he's in prostration. It would, you have all these different narrations regarding so-called, which may outwardly seem like, designating a location to Allah. It's not about location. It's about the virtue of abandoning sleep, actually. And that's why it's better to pray than the last part of the night, because usually one slept, and then they woke up. As the Prophet said in another authentic narration, that whoever forsakes his bed, the warmness of his bed, and his wife, or same goes for the women also, and praise, that Allah forgives them because they're struggling against themselves and they're struggling against comforts, to the dunya. Right? So this is, of course, the meaning here. Not that Allah has a place. And so he says that if they make it up, he says, so you delay the prayers, but it's really better to delay your nawafil prayers during the night and your witr into the last part of the night. However, he said if you're someone who does not usually wake up in time, you should do your witr with any nawafil prayers you want to do at the beginning of the night. So this is the case, like I said, of Miqdad bin Aswad. He would, the famous Sahabi, he would do his immediately after he prayed Isha, but whereas Abu Bakr, he would go to sleep and he would wake up. So we see the Sahabas, according to their capabilities, or whatever, taking different opinions. So therefore, we should, make a big, fuss about if one, whichever time one chooses to do it, as long as they're doing it, inshallah. He says, and then if you do wake up in the last part of the night, you could do whatever nawafil prayers you want in pairs. He says, but you do not repeat the witr. Yes, because again, the witr is that which makes all of the numbers that you prayed. So the Maghrib was the witr of the day, and so this witr right here is the witr of the night. This odd number rakat. So oversleep, if you normally pray at the end of the night, but you oversleep, you can still do your night prayers overlapping the time of Fajr up until it begins to light. So at this time, inshallah, we want to, inshallah, take some questions, if there's some questions. Hanif, can you hear me? Hello?
Now, at this moment, if anyone, this time, anyone has any questions, just push number 1. We'll go to you. And if you're on the computer, the number is 914-338-0884. 914-338-0884. Just simply call in, push number 1. All right, we have a question.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, my questions go back to when you were talking about Duhr and Asr. When someone's following an imam in Duhr and Asr, and you said that they do follow when it's silent, and the silence happen, not any prayer where it's allowed. What about when it comes time for the if it's out loud, and then you're doing the surah that comes after Fatiha, and you don't know it? Do you say one that you do know? If you do you move your mouth, or do you not move your mouth? I'm not quite sure. I've never been quite sure about that part.
Oh yeah, If so you're talking about the imam is reciting, he's not reciting aloud, right?
Well, if he is reciting out loud and he's doing a surah that you don't know, do you do one that you do know? And if you do recite that, do you move your mouth, or is it all in your head?
Oh no, okay. If the imam is reciting aloud, then you don't recite anything.
Not even on Fatiha, right? Not even in your mind.
No, all right, no. All right. If the imam is reciting aloud, you don't recite anything. You don't recite the Fatiha or the surah after it. The only time you recite is when the imam is silent.
Okay, right. And then so that'll be easy then. Really? Okay. I definitely know that.
This is the Maliki opinion. So for example, if it's Maghrib, right? Of course,
right.
Okay, so it's Maghrib. The first two rakat, then you just listen to the imam. You don't recite anything. The last rakat, then of course you recite the Fatiha to yourself. Okay. And what's meant by reciting to the self? He says, وقراءة التي يسر بها في صلاة كلها هي يتحرك اللسان بتكلم بالقرآن. He says, so what's meant by reciting silently in prayer is that you move the tongue and you articulate the Quran. So and this also helps too. Like say for example, if you should recite silently or to yourself, even if you're praying by yourself. One of the wisdoms is that if someone is not praying, so they don't walk in front of you, they know that you're praying if they see your lips moving. Yeah, so no. When the imam was allowed, you don't recite anything.
Okay, but in during Asr, it would be easy because you're going to be reciting to yourself anyway, all throughout.
What's that?
But just by moving your mouth. Okay. All right, Shukran. Right. And another question was, when you said the legs together for women, you didn't mean qiyam. You just meant with ruku and sajda, or you meant with qiyam too?
Yeah, with both. In the Rissala, Ibn Abi Zayd, he refers back to direct statement of Imam Malik was that, or basically he clarifies, because like if you read Dawah, some of the it's kind of ambiguous because Ibn Qasim makes a statement that the form of the woman praying is like that of the man. So one may infer there that, for example, so she
keeps her legs at the same distance as the man, and her arms and everything, right? Where Ibn Abi Zayd clarifies this, and he says, no, she's like the man and everything except for, for example, how she keeps these limbs. So, for example, the man in, sajda, how he's supposed to, stretch his arms and everything. And he said, she keeps her arms in, and she keeps her legs in, out of, for her modesty and things like that. And also, he said for in regards to wudu, keeping the wudu, right? Also, the woman is supposed to keep herself, more tight as to the man.
Okay. And my last question was about the witr. If you don't know the Qunut by heart, is it okay to hold a book, or is it okay to say another by?
No. In the Maliki Mazhab, we don't say the Qunut in witr. We don't say because the Qunut is only said at one time, and it's the sunnah. It's the sunnah for it. It's only one time, within the 24-hour period, and so it's sunnah to recite the Qunut in the Fajr. So we don't recite Qunut in winter. In the Maliki school, the Shafi.
No dua at all.
Huh?
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, so when we come up from ruku, we don't say any dua. We just go straight into sujood.
Yeah. I mean, after you finish, or as we mentioned before, if it's the double salat at the end of salat, the time before you do your final taslim, or after you do your taslim, when you do your dua, you can do a dua then, but there's no, we don't do it witr. I mean, we don't do the Qunut and witr. We only do the Qunut for Fajr. I said not the Shafis. Huh?
That's a sunnah. That's like a strongly recommended thing for Fajr. It's not something you have to do for Fajr.
Right. You don't have to. It's strongly recommended. I mean, if a person doesn't do the Qunut and Fajr, they won't owe anything. They won't owe such sahwa or nothing like that. They don't owe a prostration or forgiveness. It's just strongly recommended.
Okay. All right, shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
If anyone else has any questions, you push number 1, and we'll go to you. We have another hand raised, 209-670. Assalamu alaikum. We have a question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I'm just now tuning in, so I was asking what's the topic tonight?
We're continuing. We're going over the Rissala of Ibn Zayd, Al-Qayrawaani. It's a intermediate Maliki Fiqh text dealing with Aqidah, dealing with, of course, the 5 pillars, how to perform them, sales, marriage, jihad, things like that. So we do it every Sunday. So we're continuing. So we're doing the explanation, the reading of the text with explanation.
Oh, okay. Well, I did have a couple of questions, but they were about Taraweeh prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the difference? What is the difference between Taraweeh prayer and witr prayer?
Taraweeh prayer is another term for what we call Qiyam al-Layl, or the night standing. And this is a nawafil, or a supererogatory, or an extrameritus prayer, which is done in the month of Ramadan, after the Isha prayer. It's 20, according to all 4 of the Sunni schools, it's 20 rakat, followed by 3 rakat, 2 shafa, 1 witr. Or if the witr prayer is just a prayer which makes the number you did for the day odd. So in this particular context, what we were just talking about here, the witr prayer is that 1 rakat, which is did at the end of the day, at the end of the night, after you prayed your 5 prayers and you did your nawafil, it's that one rakat which makes everything you did odd. Like, for example, and there's two witrs. For example, the Maghrib prayer is the witr for the day, right? So you got Dhuhr and Asr for the day. These are both 4 rakats. And so Maghrib is 3 rakats. Why? Because it makes what you did odd. And this is, one of the divine wisdoms. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna Allah yuhibbul witr." He said, Allah loves things done in odd numbers. Right? So, we got 5, salat, things like this. And so the Maghrib is the witr for the daytime, and the witr, the one single rak'ah of witr for the night is that which you pray the night odd.
I got another question, or is there a limitation on the questions?
No, go ahead. Bismillah.
All right, there was an imam from the community of Wardi Muhammad that in the Tarawih prayer, he was saying to, like, when you start the prayer, you say the Al-Fatiha in the prayer, the first rak'ah. And then on each, like, okay, we were doing like 2 at a time in the Tarawih. So the first one he said the Al-Fatiha. But he was saying the second one, on the second rak'ah, that you don't have to say the Al-Fatiha, that you could just go straight to the short surah. And I had never heard that before.
I've never heard that either.
I had never heard that before. And it's like, they had everybody doing it. I didn't do it because it's like, okay, I'm not just going to do something because you said do it.
No.
I've been around a lot of different messages, and I had never heard that before, so I didn't do it. No. He also was saying that if you were in a hurry, instead of saying the whole Al-Fatiha, that you could just say, Bismillah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and then that's it. And that would suffice Al-Fatiha. And I'm like, okay, I ain't never heard that before.
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in authentic Tawaita hadith, he said, "La salat illa bi Quran," or another narration, "La salat illa Fatiha al-Kitab." He said, there is no prayer without the reading of the mother of the book, or another narration. He said, there is no prayer without the reading of the opening of the book, meaning the Fatiha. So, according to all the, at least the Sunni Mazahib, all of the Sunni Mazahib, the Fatiha must be read in every rak'ah. Now, in all fairness, I don't know, maybe there is like a Shia opinion where, like, in the third rak'ah or something, they don't have to recite the Fatiha. I don't know if he was that deep, in his Islamic studies to come across that, but no, there's no salah without the Fatiha. You can't.
There's no shortening of the Al-Fatiha either, right?
No, there's no shortening of the Al-Fatiha. No.
Okay. All right. And there's some other stuff, but I'm not even gonna.
I'm laughing, really to keep from crying, man. I'm like.
Yeah, I know. But I wish, is there one of you brothers that can answer some questions? Like off the line, like, is that possible?
No.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Inshallah, I don't want to get my email out over the air. I'll get the number from Sidi Hanif, and either he or I will contact you, inshallah.
Okay. All right.
Just hold on. I'm talk to you, on the side, inshallah. Okay. All right. If anyone else has any questions, you just push number 1. You indicate your hand is raised. We'll go to you right away. If you're on the computer listening, just dial 914-338-0884. The topic tonight, of course, is that we're dealing with the chapter of the Rissala that's dealing with the prayer. And do you have any questions about what we've covered thus far or anything with regards to the prayer at all? This is time to ask a question. Okay, we have another question from our earlier callers. Sister.
Alaikum. Okay, this question is when say the imam is about to salam out, and you didn't get a chance to do what comes after the tashahhud, like the salams upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ibrahim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is that like an obligatory part, or do you salam out immediately just as he salammed out? Can you keep going until you're done and then salam out, though you're not?
I'm sorry. Repeat it for me again.
Okay. When the salat is about to end and you're in Jalsa, he must have said everything before you, of course, because he's leading, but you didn't get a chance to utter what comes after the Shahada part. You didn't get a chance to say the salams from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and upon Ibrahim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you salam out immediately right behind him, or can you go ahead and take the time you need to finish saying what you say?
Yeah, you can take the time. If you want to salam out, it's recommended really that you take the time, because the salat ends when he gives his first salam, of course, but you don't have to hurry, rush, because in our school, the second taslim isn't even obligatory. So you can continue, and it's actually recommended that you continue with the tashahhud and with the salat Ibrahimiyya.
Are those parts wajib parts? The part after the tashahhud, is that a wajib part, or is it a sunnah part? Not that I would leave it out on purpose, but
no. There's a slight difference of opinion. Most regard it to be a wajib, although some say that it's a sunnah. Again, but the imam's recitation is sufficient, though.
But you can go ahead. Okay. It's recommended to finish. Okay,
no.
Shukran.
No.
Assalamu alaikum.
That's question number one. As we were saying, if you have any questions, we'll go right to you. Looks like this. Okay, we have a hand raised here. It's on line 3, 215-758. You're on. You have a question, comment? 215-758. Assalamu alaikum. All right. Well, once going twice. 215-758. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Just raise your hand. We'll go to you. MashaAllah. Okay, looks like.
You want to continue? You want to close this section out right quick?
Sure.
Okay. It's real short. It's only a couple more lines. We can close this section and we can pick up next week at the Bible Imam Ma'mun. He just says, وَمَنْ دَخَلَ مَشْيِ عَلَى الْوُضُوءِ فَلَا يَجْلِسُ حَتَّى يُصَلِّ رَكْعَتَيْنِ إِنْ كَانَ وَقْتٌ يُجُوزُ فِيهِ الرُّكُوعُ وَمَنْ دَخَلَ مَشْيِ لَمْ يُرْكَعْ الْفَجْرَ أَجْزَاءَ لذلك ركعة الفجر وإن ركع الفجر في بيته ثم آتى المسجد فاختلاف فيه فقيل يركع وقيل لا يركع ولا صلاة نافلة بعد الفجر إلى ركعتين الفجر إلى طلوع الشمس. And here the Imam says that like if you enter into the masjid and you have wudu, then you don't sit down and you pray, the 2 rakats.
if there's time. And if you enter the masjid and you don't, pray the 2 rakat of Fajr, then it isn't. It isn't like. So what he's talking about here, I gotta explain. What he's talking about here is that there is an exception, like in the Maliki school, that if you enter into the masjid for Salatul Subh, and like there's still enough time for you to hurry and do the 2 rakat before, before you could do it. And this is the only exception to the rule, because usually we know the hadith of the Prophet when he said that there's no prayer after the iqamah. The meaning is that you don't start another prayer after the iqamah. For example, this is the reason why, which we'll get to a little later on, in the Maliki school, if you come for Salatul Jummah and the Imam has already started his khutbah, we don't pray the 2 rakats while the Imam is talking, because when the Imam is talking, this is actually part of the Salat. So you don't start a Salat after a Salat. But what he's talking about here is that there's an exception for the Sunnah, and that's only if there's enough time. And that's based upon the strong merit or emphasis which the Prophet gave to those 2 rakat when he said in a narration, he said, don't abandon the 2 rakat before Fajr, even if there was an army behind you. Mm-hmm. So this is the only exception which Imam Malik took to the general rule that you don't start another Salat after the Salat. But if you enter to the masjid, of course, he said, but if there's no time, of course, then you join the prayer and you don't pray. He does recognize the difference, and he says that there's no for prayer after the Fajr, except for the 2 before Fajr. Now he said. So if you go to the mosque before you have done the 2 rakats of Fajr, they take the place of those 2 rakats. If they have already prayed the 2 rakats of Fajr, you go to the mosque. There's a difference in opinion on which you do. Some people say you should pray the 2 rakats, some people say that you don't. So with that, inshallah, I think we can end, because that's actually the end of the section. And the next section is about the qualifications for the imam and the followers. We now covered 126 pages of the Rissala. So, inshallah, next week we could start anew with the freshness section. Inshallah. Okay. And if anyone has any questions with regards to that section there, then you push number 1. I will go to you. And I want you all to know, too, for anyone who has just recently, caught the class, perhaps you have not heard any of the previous classes, you can get any of the previous classes that we've already covered by just coming here to, the Dino Dunya here on Blog Talk Radio, and just search the archives under any of the classes under any of the shows that are titled either Maliki Fiqh class, Rissala ibn Abi Zayd, or Rissala ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawaanee. As we've thus far covered the belief system creed, and most of all of the conditions of the prayer, and major part of pretty much the prayer thus far. So if you need any of those past classes, you can find them in our archives. So if anyone has any questions here, this is the last go around. Question number 1. We'll go to you. MashaAllah. I don't see any hands raised.
MashaAllah.
And like Ustadh said, next week we'll be dealing with the chapter dealing with the qualifications for the imam and the followers, inshallah. So this book, Rissala of Zayd, you can find you can be Arabic, you can find pretty much. I know there's a way you can find it online if you search for it, but I know it's pretty easy to buy. I know for that books, .com they have it, and in a lot of different places. For a good translation, you can just go to the website ran by Sister Aisha Bewley. That's Aisha Bewley, Bewley, to get the English translation. She has the whole book translated. If you want to have the text to follow along, I would recommend you do that. Inshallah, ta'ala. All right. So, you have any closing words?
No. Just want to keep reminding people whatever they missed, they can go back and get, inshallah. And next Sunday we have questions they can ask, inshallah. That's about it.
Thank you all for coming. You all. الله next week. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون. سلام على المرسلين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.